Thanks, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you're watching this from. And this is just going to be a talk on discernment. So, I feel like most of the times, you know, especially in the religious aspect, discernment is something that we do in order to, get affirmation or assurance from God that whatever we're longing for is something that is good and according to His will. However, I feel like uh, that would not be a uh, that would not be the topic that I am going to be diving into in this talk. I'm not really quite sure as well if the definition for discernment in the religious aspect is correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. Uh, however, yeah, discernment is really an important thing to partake in, especially when it comes to making decisions in life, because you have to know whether or not that decision is a good one to make in and of itself. Uh, Good in the sense that is it really benefiting you for a good reason? That being, is it benefiting you for your growth? Is it propelling you forward in terms of your career, your relationships, your health, so on and so forth? Or is this decision just going to, in turn, lead you down a spiral of never ending problems, struggles, temptations, and addictions, and so on? So, yeah, it's something to really think about in terms of, the aspect of discernment, because that's what it correlates to, thinking about decisions, contemplating on it. What are the consequences that can happen if you did this, or what are the consequences that could happen if you said this, and so on and so forth. And going with the choice that does not necessarily have little to no consequence, but rather the consequences that you are able to deal with yourself, knowing your capabilities, knowing who you are as a person, knowing what your ability to handle the setbacks that may come from this specific choice or this specific endeavor. And yeah, it's just pretty much that's it, just thinking it through. And I feel like as simple as it is, it's one of the most hardest things to do, because we have to literally look within ourselves, analyze ourselves, in terms of our strengths, our weaknesses, our capabilities, what are we doing wrong, what are we doing right, and how can this decision, help us build up whatever we're building, or topple everything down and watch everything crash and burn. You know, it's it's really, like I said, it's the most simple things, which are often the most hardest. I can't really explain why, but this is the same thing that goes for it. I mean, like for me, example, speaking from my personal experience, I found it very hard for me to partake in the sermon, because not only was I reluctant to look within myself, I was also afraid of, just facing consequences altogether. You know, I wanted the choice to be something, uh, that I would make, which would lead to zero consequences or zero backlash, failures, setbacks. It had to be a 100% success, or I wasn't going to go through with it. Little did I know that life does not work that way. you know, you're going to have to sacrifice certain things, you're going to have to leave behind certain things in order to pursue other things, if that makes sense. But yeah, you can't have it all, you can't win it all. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to sacrifice something to gain something in return. And I found it very hard to grapple with that thought. I found it very hard to, seek discernment for my actions, from what I'm gonna be doing forward, from how I'm gonna be acting, how I'm gonna be portraying myself. Am I going to be, authentic and real, or am I gonna just, you know, adapt to the adapt to the modern day society, compromise my values and my beliefs for the sake of fitting in and prospering and gaining success and all that. So I I had a really hard time doing that, and I found that in and of itself, in the end, I chose to stay true to who I am and what I believe in, and what I like doing, and how how I want to do it. Now, is it trendy? No. Am I successful? No. uh, so I wouldn't advise it to be a framework for everybody, but I mean, speaking from my personal point of view, I'm okay with taking the long road, and I'm okay with, playing the long game. I don't need to be ultra successful right now. I mean, it would be awesome if that happened, but I'm not gonna be, resentful about it or anything like that, or give up completely because it hasn't worked out in like what 10 years. um, so yeah, it's just all about finding what works for you and knowing yourself the most, which is what I think meditation and prayer to some extent will allow you to do, because it gives you a space of silence. It gives you a space of genuine reflection. You don't need to be putting up any facade or any some any act for other people. It's just you. In any case, it's just you in meditation and the silence, and in prayer, it's just you and God. So there's no need to lie. There's no need to be deceitful. There's no need to pretend that everything is okay. And there's no need to put up this front or this mask that you're brave, that you're bold. You can be vulnerable. You can you can allow yourself to feel and think the things that you've been suppressing and holding back, and you get a front row seat to the real version of you, the unfiltered version of you, which will allow for you to truly know yourself in and out in terms of your emotions, your thoughts, your desires, your longings, what you really want out of this life. Are you comfortable with the person you are, or do you want to change that? And it really helps with discernment, because knowing yourself completely, ins and out, which is an impossible task, by the way. Just gotta put that out there, because we're human beings. We grow every day. We change every day in terms of that. So we get new interests, we get new values, develop new beliefs, and so on and so forth. So it's really you know, not not a done deal when you can finally say that I know myself in and out, because you grow, you change, and then therefore it leads to another path or another journey of self-discovery. Meditating, contemplating, reconnecting with yourself in a way where you get to know the new version of you, or the new things that transpired because of certain aspects or with time. And yeah, I guess, the fact is that it's always good to seek discernment. It's always good to contemplate on your actions and your decisions before making them and before doing them, because at the end of the day, you prepare yourself for what's to come, be it the good or the bad or the downfalls and failures or the success. So you're ready, not like, just making a decision out of the blue without thinking it through or anything like that, and then hoping in all aspects that it will work. And then when it doesn't, you're a mess. So that's what it also does. It prepares you for what's to come. And I feel like, there's no waste in contemplating and meditating. It does a lot of things, a lot of good things for you. and it surely has done for me, which is why I say that. But I mean, of course, it depends on perspectives. It may not work for some people, and it may work for some people. But yeah, overall, I think it's a really good thing to partake in. I'm trying to do it on my part as often as possible, which is, if I'm not gonna lie, it's given me opportunities to make choices uh, that were beneficial uh, to myself and to other people, and did not have as big of as a setback or a consequence. I would say that the only consequence that happened was regret, because I wanted to pick another thing, but I ended up choosing option B instead of option A because I felt like it was the right choice, and I just felt like my gut was telling me to pick that because it was a safer option. So that's the only thing that you're gonna have to deal with, is either consequences, like because you picked option A, or regret because you picked option B instead of picking option A. So yeah, I mean that's just a little takeaway from me. I mean, I'm not any expert on that at all, but it's just my takeaway on my experience and stuff, and hopefully it was quite insightful or the slightest bit informative to you guys. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for staying tuned. And yeah, be safe out there.